Problems with light fixtures, outlets, breakers? With Live Home Help, get on a face-to-face call with an expert for virtual assistance for just $39.99. DIY doesn't mean do it alone.
First up, we're going to turn off power. But best practice is confirmed that your non-contact voltage tester works, then hit the breaker and confirm you don't have any power. Confirming that our power is off, we'll go into the mistake number 1, which is that unprofessional mistake, which is right in front of our face here. And that is the plate that we use. The wall plate we use is not appropriate in this instance because this is exposed work. So we should have been using the Rocco 813C exposed work cover like this, which will fit perfectly to our NEMA 1450. So we'll solve that cover at the end. But let's move on to mistake number 2, which is the actual code violation. So we'll remove the 4 mounting screws here to pull out the NEMA 1450, confirming at the conductors with the non-contact voltage test so that the power is for sure off. And then we're going to loosen up the ground screw. You can probably already see the issue, and that is we did not ground the metal box. Now, this is an issue that we want to correct now with a simple pigtail and a grounding screw to the threaded hole that is in the box and made for this exact purpose. So I'll install that pigtail here and tighten that down. And this is one of the few instances where I use a Wago 221-613 opposed to the normal 413. I usually use while we're using the bigger 613 because it can go up to 10 gauge, which is what we need for this circuit, compared to the normal maximum 12 gauge on the 413S. So we'll just include all 3 of these bare grounds, flip the switches, confirm they're seated and firm, and then just put those to the back of the box now for our third mistake. And this is just because overall, the durability of this NEMA 1415, it's about a $10 to $15 outlet or receptacle. And again, it's probably just not going to meet our needs. So we want an upgrade now before installing the Hubble. Let's just do some comparisons side by side. Here's 3 different examples of $10 to $15 receptacles. And you can see this is the one we removed. The big thing I don't like about this one is the terminals are exposed on the back side. Now you saw me put the grounds to the back of the box, so I could easily have a short to these terminals that are fully exposed. And overall, it's just a lighter weight build, and it's not going to hold up as well as the Hubble over here. Now here is a smaller example from Leviton, and you can see it's pretty compact design overall. It is able to fit a Robertson drive, which would help you torque down those terminals, but it is really lightweight. And it may be at last, but I just really don't trust it. One thing to point out, remember, you do need to use the manufacturer's specification on these terminals for torque. That is very, very important. And I'll show you the example as we install this one, although those terminals are covered, right? They're concealed, which is great. I do not like the type of screwdriver that you'd have to use. You're really going to be using kind of a Phillips head, or possibly you could get a hybrid in there. And I think you're going to struggle to torque those down without stripping out your terminals, which is a no-go for me. So that is why I'm going with this much heavier duty, literally about twice the weight. You can see stainless steel for your mounting bracket. This is very similar to what you see in weather-resistant outlets. It has the concealed terminals, and also you're able to use an Allen key, which really helps you torque down to what is needed, which is 75 inch-pounds on each one of these terminals during the install. So let's do just that. Let's go ahead and install this guy. Jumping back to that mistake. Number 1, this mud ring was part of that install. So we'll go ahead and remove that because we're going to need those 2 mounting screws for this plate that's already pre-installed on our 1450. And you can see the 4 screws holding that in place. Best practice. Let's start off with our ground. And I'm using a 3/16 Allen key to get these torqued, the majority of the way there for the ground, and also our 3 conductors. Then we'll go to the neutral and tighten that down. I do want to press on that wire, making sure I reduce or eliminate any exposed copper at the bottom there to make sure we don't have any internal shorts inside the 4x4 box. So taking our first hot side, no copper exposed, and then finishing off with our other phase and tightening that down. Now, if you're taking on these projects, one very important thing is you do need to torque down these terminals to the manufacturer specification. In this case, it's 75 inch-pounds, and that's what this torque screwdriver maxes out on. And I picked this one up a few months back. I don't use it very often, but it comes in super handy in instances like this. So not only are you going to do a torquing round, you need to do multiple rounds. Remember, this is stranded copper, so you need to work those wires to make sure they're in their final place, and then torque again, because they will loosen up. So you don't just want to do one round, and that's both. If you're doing this as a DIY also, if you're hiring this out, Make sure they have a torquing screwdriver. And they're doing those multiple rounds because you're going to be driving a lot of current through this receptacle. And then your mounting screws are your friends to pull everything back together. Sometimes that 6 gauge can be a little stubborn, but those screws will help you pull everything back in.